Am I being detained?
You're not detained. You're free to go when we're done talking.
Then why stop me?
Broken taillight. I wanted to let you know before it gets dark out. I'm issuing a warning. Email only. No ticket today.
Rain pounded against the patrol cars lined outside the precinct as Officer James Carter stared at the flashing lights. His heartbeat matched their rhythm. The night shift had been quiet until the call came through. A suspect in custody claimed the officer planted evidence. Carter denied it. He thought it would pass. But now, the footage from his own Bodycam was under review. Every word, every movement, every detail. Recorded. Inside the investigation room, silence hung thick as Internal Affairs walked in. Their faces were unreadable. The red recording light on the table blinked once. Carter's stomach dropped. He thought he knew what they'd seen. He didn't. What they were about to reveal would destroy the version of events he'd sworn was true. The night started without warning. Officer James Carter and his partner, Officer Lewis, patrolled the east side, an area known for calls that turned small fast and small calls that turned dangerous faster. The rain had started an hour earlier, soaking the streets, washing the alleys clean. Carter drove slow, eyes steady on the road. At 10:43 p.m., dispatch sent the alert. Unit 14, possible stolen vehicle, silver Honda Civic, plate number ending 4292. Lewis read it twice. That's the same plate from the robbery last week. Carter flicked on the lights. Let's check it. They spotted the Honda parked near an old liquor store, engine still running. One man sat inside, hood up, hands on the wheel. Carter parked at an angle blocking the exit. Rain streaked across the windshield. He took a breath, checked his Bodycam. The green light blinked. Recording. He stepped out. The air was cold, heavy with that mix of rain and gasoline. "Police," he said, moving toward the car. "Turn off the engine." The driver hesitated, then complied. Lewis moved to the passenger side. "Hands where we can see them." The driver, mid-20s, dark jacket, nervous eyes, did as told. Carter opened the door, asked him to step out. The man obeyed, hands trembling slightly. "Name? Marcus Reed. Is this your vehicle?" Marcus shook his head. "Borrowed it from a friend." Carter nodded. "You got ID?" Marcus handed over a worn license. Carter ran it through the radio. Clean record. But something in the trunk drew his attention. It sat lower than normal. "Waited." "Pop the trunk," Carter ordered. Marcus frowned. "I don't have the key." "It's not mine." Carter walked around to the back. Rain dripped off his cap. He looked at the trunk lock, scratched. Fresh. He pressed the release. It opened halfway. Inside, a black duffel bag. He pulled it out, unzipped it. Stacks of small baggies. White powder sealed tight. Lewis whistled. "That's a felony load." Marcus froze. "That's not mine." Carter straightened. "You're under arrest for possession with intent." Marcus's voice cracked. "I swear I didn't know." "It's not mine." Lewis cuffed him while Carter called it in. Standard procedure. Until Marcus said something that made everything stop. "Check your pocket, officer." Carter frowned. "What?" Marcus looked straight at him. "You dropped that bag when you got out." "I saw you." Lewis paused mid-step. The rain fell harder. Carter's jaw tightened. "Say that again." "You planted it," Marcus said. "Your camera's on, right?" "Let them watch it." For a second, the sound of rain drowned out everything. Lewis looked from Carter to Marcus, uncertain. Carter didn't respond. He read the suspect his rights, placed him in the back of the cruiser, and finished the report without another word. But inside, something cracked open. Back at the precinct, the evidence went to lockup. The shift ended, and Carter filed his notes as always. The paperwork was clean. The video, he thought, would back him. 2 days later, a call came from Internal Affairs. "Officer Carter, we need you to come in for review." He knew what that meant. Someone had filed a complaint. He entered the IA office at 8 a.m. sharp. A sterile room. White walls. One table. 2 chairs. A single red camera light on the wall. Lieutenant Harris, head of IA, sat waiting with 2 investigators. Harris didn't smile. "Sit down, Carter." He sat. "We received a civilian statement from Marcus Reed. He claims you planted evidence during his arrest. You're aware of that? Yes, sir. We've reviewed your report. It's detailed. But something caught our attention. Harris clicked a remote. The wall screen lit up. Bodycam footage began to play. Carter's chest camera view filled the screen. The rain, the car, the trunk. Pause there, Harris said. He pointed at the footage. As Carter leaned closer, his stomach tightened. In the reflection of the car's side mirror, he saw his own arm move toward his vest pocket before opening the trunk. It was fast, maybe half a second, but enough to raise suspicion. What were you reaching for? Harris asked. My flashlight, Carter said. Where's the flashlight? In my right cargo pocket. Harris played the footage again. You reached left. Your flashlight's on your right. Carter didn't answer. Harris leaned back. We enhanced the frame. Something fell from your hand right before the trunk opened. A small dark shape. Then, seconds later, the duffel bag appears. That's not possible, Carter said quietly. It's on the video, Harris replied. Unedited. Straight from your Bodycam server. Carter's pulse pounded in his ears. That footage is wrong. The bag was already in the trunk. Harris looked at him steadily. You're suspended pending full review. Turn in your badge and weapon. Carter's throat felt dry. He stood, unbuckled his belt, and placed his service weapon on the table. Sir, I didn't plant anything. Harris's tone didn't change. We'll see what the footage says. Carter left the room under the silent stare of two officers. Outside, the hallway felt longer than usual. The precinct he'd served for 8 years suddenly felt like foreign ground. At home, he sat on the edge of the couch, uniform still damp from the rain. The Bodycam footage looped in his mind. The reflection, the movement, the shape. He couldn't explain it. He remembered checking that trunk, lifting that bag, calling it in. Nothing else. His phone buzzed. Lewis calling. They pulled me in too, Lewis said. They think I saw you drop something. Did you? Carter asked. Lewis hesitated. I don't know what I saw. It was raining, and I was focused on the suspect. Carter's voice hardened. You know I didn't do it. I think so, Lewis said quietly. But IA's convinced something's off. Carter ended the call and stared at the wall. He'd done everything by procedure. So how did the footage betray him? That night, he replayed the clip he had saved on his tablet. Frame by frame. There it was again, the reflection of his own arm moving, something dark falling near his feet. He froze the frame and zoomed in. The image blurred, but it looked like a small pouch, something he didn't remember touching. He checked his vest. Every pouch was closed, every pocket zipped. Nothing missing. The knock on his door came at 11:47 p.m. He opened it to find Lieutenant Harris standing there, rain dripping from his coat. Officer Carter, Harris said. We need you back at the station. For what? New evidence came in. Carter grabbed his coat. What kind? Harris looked at him without expression. Footage from another camera. One you didn't know was rolling. Carter's stomach turned cold. The room felt smaller. The air is tighter. The truth, whatever it was about to surface, and this time there would be no denying it. The precinct was quiet when Carter arrived. It was late, close to midnight, and most of the building was empty. Only a few lights burned in the Internal Affairs office. He followed Harris through the narrow hallway, his boots echoing against the linoleum floor. The tension in the air felt heavier than the rain outside. Inside the IA room, 2 monitors glowed. One showed the familiar footage from Carter's Bodycam. The other displayed a different angle, a grainy security feed from across the street. A small grocery store's camera had caught the entire arrest. Harris didn't waste time. Sit down. Carter sat. Harris hit play. The store footage showed Carter and Lewis approaching the car. Rain fell hard, headlights reflecting off the wet asphalt. From the distance, Carter could see himself lean over the trunk. The image wasn't perfect, but it was clear enough. Then he saw it. Something dark left his hand before the trunk opened. It hit the ground fast. The angle made it hard to tell what it was, but Harris didn't pause. He switched to a zoomed view. The object looked like a pouch or small bag. Seconds later, Carter lifted the black duffel from the trunk. Pause, Harris said. The image froze. This is from the store's camera. Timestamp matches your stop, no cuts. No gaps. Carter clenched his fists. That doesn't prove anything. Harris's eyes narrowed. It proves enough for us to keep digging. The other investigator, a younger officer named Delaney, added quietly, "The civilian who owns the store handed over the footage after seeing your arrest on the news. He said he didn't like how it looked." Carter exhaled sharply. The bag was already in the trunk. "Then explain this," Harris said, rewinding to the start of the clip. "You reached into your vest. Something fell. The suspect's claim matches what's on video." Carter stood. "You think I'd risk my career to plant evidence? For what?" "No one's saying that yet," Harris replied. "But the footage doesn't lie." Carter leaned closer to the screen, watching every second of movement. The moment the trunk opened, the frame blurred with rain. The reflection on the car door shifted, making it impossible to see the ground clearly. He knew the footage wasn't perfect, but to IA, it was enough to question everything. He turned to Harris. "You've known me for 8 years. You know I follow the rules." Harris didn't respond right away. "I also know officers who said the same thing before we found they were lying. We don't judge character here. We follow evidence." The room went silent again. Delaney turned to her computer. "We've also retrieved dashcam footage from your unit. We synced the timestamps." She played the file. From the cruiser's perspective, Carter was partially blocked by the open driver's door. The sound, however, was clear. Every word, every breath. "Pop the trunk," Carter's voice said. A small rustle followed. A thud. Then the sound of the trunk opening. Delaney paused. "Hear that?" "Between your command and the trunk release." Carter nodded slowly. "The rain." "That's all." She replayed it again, isolating the audio. The sound was short, sharp, something hitting the ground. Harris folded his arms. "That's not rain. That's something dropping." Carter stared at the screen. "You're hearing what you want to hear." Harris closed the laptop. "You're suspended until this investigation is complete. Internal review starts tomorrow morning. You'll have union representation. For now, stay reachable." Carter's voice was calm but cold. "You're making a mistake." "We'll see," Harris said. Carter walked out without another word. The hallway felt endless. Outside, rain still fell. The parking lot glistened under the streetlights. He sat in his car, gripping the steering wheel, trying to process what had happened. He played the scene over in his mind again and again. The trunk, the bag, the sound. He remembered feeling the cold metal of the latch under his glove, then the weight of the duffel when he lifted it. Nothing about it felt staged. So why did the video look like that? He knew one thing. The footage wasn't enough to convict him. But it was enough to ruin him. By morning, the story had already spread across the department. Officers avoided eye contact in the locker room. Some nodded politely. Others didn't speak at all. Lewis caught up with him near the vending machines. "You're still suspended?" "Yeah," Lewis rubbed his neck. "IA called me back too. They want another statement." "Did you tell them I didn't plant anything?" "I told them I didn't see it happen," Lewis said carefully. "That's the truth." "That's not enough," Carter said. Lewis lowered his voice. "They've got footage from another angle. It looks bad. You know how this goes, man. Once they think you're dirty, it sticks." Carter stared at him. "You think I'm dirty?" Lewis hesitated. "I think you're unlucky." The words hit harder than he expected. Carter left the building. He drove aimlessly for hours, stopping at the gas station near the motel district. He parked under a dim light and sat in silence. He opened his laptop and pulled up the copy of his Bodycam footage again. This time, he noticed something different. At the exact moment he reached for his vest, there was a faint movement behind him, near the rear bumper. He paused. Zoomed in, a figure, shadowy, blurred, barely visible in the rain. Someone was standing just outside the frame. His pulse spiked. There shouldn't have been anyone there. He checked the timestamp. Right before the trunk opened, he replayed it. The same shape flickered again. He couldn't make out the face, but the outline matched someone in a rain jacket, possibly another officer. He froze the frame, took a screenshot, and enhanced the image. The badge glint on the shoulder was unmistakable. It wasn't Lewis. It was another cop. He sat back, eyes wide. If another officer was there, that meant the entire story might be different. He scrolled through his call logs. The only unit close that night was from Traffic Patrol. Officer Riley. Carter remembered Riley arriving late to back them up, but Riley wasn't listed in the arrest report. He wasn't even mentioned. Carter's mind raced. If Riley approached the trunk first and dropped the pouch, the camera could have caught Carter's hand moving, creating the illusion that it was him. He grabbed his phone and called Riley. No answer. He called again, straight to voicemail. The next morning, Carter drove straight to Riley's precinct. The desk sergeant looked up when he entered. Riley called out sick, he said. For how long? 2 days, Carter's gut twisted. Riley was the only one who could explain that shadow. Back in his car, Carter replayed the footage again, focusing on the reflection. He could see the faint outline of Riley's flashlight beam in the distance. The angle, the timing, it all lined up. He wasn't alone at that trunk. Someone else had been there, and that meant someone knew the truth. As Carter sat in his car, he knew what came next. IA thought they had the full story. They didn't. The next step was finding Riley, before Internal Affairs found him first. The morning light was harsh through the blinds. Carter hadn't slept. He kept the Bodycam footage paused on his laptop, the shadow still visible near the trunk. Every time he looked at it, his pulse quickened. He knew what it meant. Someone else had been there, and that someone had been Officer Riley. He left his apartment before sunrise and drove straight to Riley's neighborhood. The rain from the night before had cleared, leaving the streets slick and silent. He parked across from a small single-story house with a gray roof and a faded patrol sticker still on the mailbox. Carter knocked 3 times. No answer. He knocked again, louder. The curtain inside shifted slightly. Someone was home. Riley, he called. It's Carter. We need to talk. The door creaked open a few inches. Riley stood behind it, unshaven, eyes sunken, still in a t-shirt and sweatpants. He looked surprised and wary. What are you doing here? Carter held up his phone. You've seen the footage? Riley's jaw tightened. Yeah. Then you know there's something wrong with it. You were there, weren't you? Near the trunk. Riley's expression didn't change. You shouldn't be here, Carter. IA's already breathing down everyone's neck. I'm not asking for favors, Carter said. I need the truth. The footage shows a shadow, someone behind me. That was you. Riley looked past him, scanning the street before stepping aside. Get in. Inside, the house smelled like old coffee and stress. Papers covered the kitchen table. Letters, citations, unopened envelopes. Riley sat down and rubbed his temples. You don't get it. This whole thing's a mess. IA came by my place yesterday. They're asking questions about you, about that stop. They know I was close to the scene, but my name wasn't in your report. Carter leaned forward. Why wasn't it? You arrived as backup. I got there late. You already had the suspect cuffed. I walked up right as you popped the trunk. Then you saw it, Carter said. You saw the bag in there, Riley hesitated. I saw something. I thought you pulled it out yourself. That's what it looked like, Carter said sharply. Because you were standing behind me and the reflection made it look like it came from my hand. Riley shook his head slowly. No one's going to believe that. They will if you tell IA what you saw. Riley stood and walked to the sink. You don't understand how bad this looks. They're building a case. They've already talked to the chief. Once IA starts pulling every file, they don't stop. Carter's voice hardened. Did you touch that bag? Riley froze. What? You heard me, Riley turned slowly. I didn't plant anything, if that's what you're implying. But you were there, Carter said. And now the footage shows something that makes it look like I did. Riley didn't answer. He picked up a mug, washed it, set it down again, all without looking at Carter. Carter studied him. You're hiding something. Riley met his eyes. I'm trying to survive. IA doesn't care who's guilty. They care who they can pin it on. Right now, that's you. If I start talking, they'll drag me down, too. So you're going to let me take the fall? Riley sighed. You think the department's going to back you? Look around. You're already suspended. You're a headline waiting to happen. Carter's patience snapped. He stepped closer. If you know the truth and stay quiet, you're no better than the guy who planted that bag. Riley's voice dropped. You don't know what's at stake here. Then tell me. Riley looked toward the door, as if someone might be listening. Those drugs weren't part of a street bust. They were evidence from another case, a narcotics sting that went sideways 2 weeks ago. Half the stash went missing from lockup. IA's been hunting for it. If they trace it back to us, we're both done. Carter's stomach turned. You're saying that bag came from evidence storage? Riley nodded slowly. Someone moved it off the books. I don't know who. All I know is it turned up at that stop, and your camera caught it. Carter stepped back, trying to absorb it. You knew about this and said nothing? I didn't know until after, Riley said. Someone inside tipped me off last night. Said IA's got a list of names and yours is at the top. Carter grabbed his phone. Then we go to Harris. We tell him everything. Riley shook his head. Harris is part of it. Carter froze. You're lying. I wish I was. He's been running point on the internal review for months. Every piece of evidence goes through his hands first. You think it's a coincidence the footage came out the way it did? Carter's pulse pounded in his ears. You think he tampered with it? I think he's covering someone's tracks, Riley said quietly. And you're the scapegoat. Carter felt the room spin. Then we get proof. Good luck, Riley muttered. You go digging around IA and you'll vanish before your next shift. Carter pocketed his phone. I'm not backing down. Riley stared at him for a long moment, then said, There's a copy of the original Bodycam files stored on the precinct server. The metadata logs every upload. If the timestamps don't match, someone edited it. Then that's where I'll start. Riley grabbed his arm. If you do this, they'll know. Let them, Carter said. I'm not losing my badge over someone else's crime. He walked out before Riley could stop him. The air outside was colder now. He got in his car and drove toward the precinct. When he arrived, the lot was empty. He entered through the side door, using his still-active keycard. Inside, the building hummed quietly. Only the night security lights flickered. He went straight to the digital evidence room. Rows of servers lined the walls, fans humming. He logged in using his credentials. The search took minutes. His Bodycam file appeared, time-stamped the night of the arrest. He opened the log. The upload time didn't match. The system showed it had been accessed 12 hours after he'd turned it in, by Lieutenant Harris. Carter's jaw tightened. He scrolled further. A secondary copy had been created, labeled Revised A. He clicked it. The file opened, the same footage IA had shown him. But when he compared the data side by side, the original had a full minute of footage missing. That missing minute started 10 seconds before the trunk opened. Someone had cut it. He copied both files to a flash drive and logged out. As he stepped out of the room, he heard footsteps echoing down the hall. Carter, a voice called. Harris. Carter froze. Harris turned the corner, his face unreadable. What are you doing here? Checking my file, Carter said evenly. At midnight? I couldn't sleep. Harris stepped closer. You're not supposed to be here. Carter slipped the flash drive into his pocket. Then arrest me. Harris stared at him for a long time. Go home, Carter. You're already in enough trouble. Carter didn't move until Harris walked away. Then he exhaled, hands trembling. He looked down at his pocket where the flash drive rested. He finally had proof. But proof meant nothing if he couldn't stay alive long enough to show it. Carter drove without direction. The city lights blurred past as thoughts slammed against each other in his head. Harris had tampered with the footage. Riley had confirmed the drugs came from evidence storage. And now, the only copy that proved his innocence sat on a flash drive in his pocket. If he turned it in, it would vanish like everything else that threatened the department's image. He needed backup, not from inside the force, but from outside. He parked near a diner that stayed open all night. Inside, a few truckers ate in silence. The smell of old coffee filled the air. Carter sat in a booth near the back and took out his phone. He scrolled through his contacts until he found one name. Laura Jennings, local reporter, known for exposing police corruption 5 years earlier. He hadn't spoken to her since then, but she was his only option. He sent one text. Need to meet. It's about internal affairs. Tonight, The reply came fast. Where? Carter typed the address of the diner. 10 minutes later, she walked in. Hair pulled back, camera bag over her shoulder, alert eyes scanning the room. When she saw him, she sat down immediately. "You look like hell," she said. "Been worse." She opened her notebook. "Talk." Carter slid the flash drive across the table. "That's the original and edited Bodycam footage from my case. IA's been altering evidence. They're covering something involving missing narcotics. The duffel I found during an arrest. Those drugs came from the department's own lockup." Laura's brow tightened. "That's a big claim. I've got timestamps to prove it. The upload was altered by Lieutenant Harris 12 hours after I submitted it." She looked at the flash drive like it was a loaded weapon. "If this is real, it'll blow up the department." "It's real," Carter said. "And they'll bury me before it gets out." Laura nodded. "I'll make copies and verify the data. Once I confirm it, I'll release it with your statement." Carter shook his head. "No statement, not yet. They'll trace it to me. You can't hide forever. I just need to make sure they can't destroy the files before it goes public." Laura paused. "Then we move fast." They left the diner separately. Carter watched her drive away before heading back to his car. The rain started again, light but steady. His phone buzzed. "Riley, where are you?" Riley's voice was tense. "Handling it." "You need to stop. Harris knows you were in the server room. He's looking for you." "I know." Riley hesitated. "Then you better disappear. They're talking about charging you with evidence tampering." Carter hung up without answering. He knew the risk, but running wasn't an option anymore. The only way out was through. He parked behind an abandoned repair shop near the precinct and watched from a distance. Around midnight, 2 unmarked cars pulled up to the side entrance. Harris stepped out carrying a black folder. 2 plainclothes officers followed. They entered the building through the side door, the evidence room door. Carter gripped the steering wheel. They were cleaning up. He got out of his car, staying low as he approached the alley. The back window of the evidence office was cracked open for ventilation. He could hear voices inside. "Wipe everything," Harris said. "All logs from that night. No backups." One of the men replied, "What about the copy Carter pulled?" "He doesn't have it anymore," Harris said. "If he does, it'll never see daylight." Carter slipped his phone from his pocket, recording the audio through the gap. Every word burned into memory. A few minutes later, the lights in the evidence room went dark. The men left the building, folder in hand, and drove away. Carter stayed hidden until the last engine faded. Then he exhaled slowly. He had them now, audio proof to match the video evidence. The next morning, Laura called. "I verified the data. You were right. The files were edited. I have both versions saved on 3 separate drives. I'm going to the station now for comment." "Don't," Carter said quickly. "Harris will shut you out. Let me handle him first." She paused. "What's your plan?" "I'm going to record him admitting it." "That's dangerous. So is losing everything I've worked for." He ended the call and drove straight to the precinct. He walked in like nothing had happened. Officers stared but said nothing. Harris stood near his office, mid-conversation with the captain. When he saw Carter, his expression froze. "Carter," Harris said sharply, "you're not cleared to be here. I need to talk to you." "About what?" "The investigation." The captain looked between them. "Take it to your office, Harris." They entered the room. Harris closed the door. "You've got nerve showing up." Carter sat down, keeping his phone recording in his pocket. "You altered the footage." Harris leaned forward. "Careful what you say. I saw the metadata. You edited it 12 hours after submission." Harris smiled faintly. "That's how you want to play it?" "You framed me." "No," Harris said. "I protected the department. The stash in that trunk belonged to an internal operation. You stumbled into something you weren't supposed to see. Then why lie?" "Because the department's reputation matters more than one officer's career." Carter clenched his jaw. "You planted that bag." "I didn't plant it," Harris said. "But I made sure it stayed where it needed to." "And now I take the fall?" Harris stood. "You already have. You walk out of here quietly, or this turns criminal." Carter rose slowly. "It already is." He walked out before Harris could react. The audio kept recording in his pocket. By the time he reached the parking lot, Laura was waiting in her car. "You got it?" she asked. He nodded and played the recording. Her eyes widened. "This is enough." Within hours, the story broke online. The headline hit every local outlet by noon. Internal Affairs Lieutenant caught altering evidence in drug case. By evening, the department issued a statement confirming Harris was under investigation. Carter's suspension was lifted pending review, but the damage was done. The footage spread fast. The truth was out. That night, Carter sat alone in his apartment. The city felt quiet again. His phone buzzed with messages from officers, some supportive, others distant. Laura called once more. "You did the right thing," she said. "The story's already trending." "The public's watching," Carter nodded slowly. "Then maybe it was worth it," she paused. "What will you do now?" He looked at his badge resting on the table. "Keep recording." "Someone has to." The line went silent, then ended. Carter leaned back, the weight of weeks finally lifting off his chest. Outside, the rain had stopped. For the first time in months, the city was still. He reached for his phone, opened his camera app, and hit record. "Every truth leaves a trail," he said quietly. "You just have to follow it." He ended the clip and stared at the red light fading on the screen. The next video would tell a new story, and for those who wanted to protect their integrity, he had a free guide on how to secure and verify Bodycam data before it vanished into the wrong hands. The truth had cost him everything, but it was finally free.